hours. Here's what we're doing. We're gonna be doing something I do every Friday. Today I had to move it up a little bit. Normally I started at 3 p.m., but I'm starting it at noon Eastern today. No, 1 p.m. Eastern today, because I gotta finish up my message. I got some meetings I'm gonna have. But what we're gonna do now is ask a pastor anything. So very, very, very simple concept. Literally for the next 2 hours, you guys get to ask me anything and everything you want about life, faith, relationships, the Bible, literally anything that you want it to be. And I'm just gonna do my best to add value and encourage you in any way that I can. I never claim to have all of life's answers. Never claim to understand everything about the Bible. Never claim to have all that. However, if there's any way that I can help, maybe you read something in the Bible, you're a little confused by it. Maybe you're going through something in a relationship, looking for a perspective. Maybe you're kind of wondering if God's even real. But it doesn't even have to be spiritual. Maybe you're watching right now and you're like, hey, dude, like, I want to learn how to be a streamer. Now's a great time to ask. Like, literally can ask any question. And all you have to do, very, very simple, is type !ask, hit the space bar, and it will automatically get added to a queue right in front of me. And I would love to answer as many as I can. Who's you? Good to see you. And the musical paladin, please feel free to let us know. I can pray for you. I would love, love, love to send a prayer your way. Absolutely. Let me just go ahead and accept this shared chat feature, and they'll be ready to rock and roll. Dun, dun. Because this feature is so finicky. What's up, Babs? There we go. Yeah, this feature is so finicky at times. But I do believe I got it to work. Yes. Sick. All right. We are in the clear. Feature is indeed working. Which means we are ready to rock and roll, homies. Let me just get one more chat thing open. And then we're going to be good to go. Dun, 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 dun. Yo, what's up, Amo? Welcome on the XP Church YouTube channel. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Dun, dun. Daenerys, I want people to check right now. I'm about to dive into Ask Pastor or anything, but I will definitely check it out when I get a chance, and I will let you know. God bless, friend. Asmo, all right. First question coming in from the legend himself, bro. What an absolute Chad. Let me just make sure this chat thing opens, and here we go. Launch chat. There we go. All right, now we are good. Now I've got the chat open. Now we're ready to rock and roll. Sweet deal. All right, first question coming in from Asbo. When did you decide that streaming is what you wanted to do full time, and why? So that is a great question. That is one that I think a lot of people really need to wrestle with, right? So let me back up and tell you my story. Here's my story of how I not only got into streaming, but then when I decided to turn streaming from a hobby to like an actual career, an actual like job. And that was a hard choice. So I started streaming back in December 2014. And I'll be honest, the world was very different back then. The internet was very different back then. Streaming was different back then. And there was not many people streaming on the platform. So getting noticed was significantly easier, like night and day. And so especially, like I want you to picture logging on Twitch today and you go into a category, and instead of seeing like 1,000 different streamers, I want you to picture there being like 10. So instead of logging into World of Warcraft and you're scrolling and you see like this over and over and over and over and over and over, like my internet can't even keep up with how many streamers there are. I want you to picture yourself logging in and there's just like the list ends right where my mouse is. That's it. Yeah, Doug on YouTube is like back to the boiler days. Yeah, that's how long ago this was, man. Like it's a world you and I can't even, unless you were around on Twitch back then, you can't even fathom it. And so because my name was Pastor Susie, and I would always make my title like a pastor playing Halo, or a pastor shooting people in the face and telling them Jesus loves them, something very like intriguing, that not only did it get easily noticed because there was no competition, but it was so different, right? Like you saw like Gold player plays Halo. Pro player plays Halo. Doing customs. 4v4s. And it was like pastor shooting people in the face. You're like, yeah, I'll click on that one. It was just so, you know what I mean? So out there. So the reason I say that is my stream, it grew quickly. Like, I had months of like 2 viewers, 3 viewers, but then once I got some momentum, like it grew pretty quickly. Like, I think I went a few months of having like no viewers, but then I went from like 10, 15 to like 30 in like a matter of like a month, to like doubled my viewer count, and then 30 to 40 to 50. Like within the first, I think probably year, I had like 40 average viewers. Which is pretty decent. It's pretty decent. Even today, that's pretty solid. And then after a year, man, I just sat down and was really praying, and I was like, God, here's the deal. Like, I really think that there's some real potential here to reach a lot of people, to impact a lot of people's lives. But I was only doing it like 6 hours a week. I had a full-time job. So did my wife. Didn't do it very often. And I was like, God, I really just feel like if we put like some fuel on the fire, like we can make this thing work. And I remember just thinking, I was like, but financially, there's just no way that I can do that. There's just absolutely no way that I can do that. So at first I kind of just threw the idea out the window. I was like, well, maybe one day. But then as I just was praying, I just felt so strongly in my heart that God was like, you need to give this thing all your effort. And I was like arguing with God. I was like, but God, the money's not there. Like, I make like $12 a month, for my stream. You know what I mean? Like, I'm newly married. I can't support my wife. Financially, this makes no sense. And what I want to say next is not something I think most people should replicate. This is the exception and not the rule. It is the rule if you feel God calling you to do it. But talking with my wife, praying, and talking even with my pastor of the church that I worked at, and just the pastor of the church I attended, we just felt that God was calling me to quit my job and to pursue this thing full time and give it all my effort. And I did. We set up a plan with the pastor of the church that I worked at that I would finish out the year. I think this was around maybe September 2015. And then I went full time January 1st or January 2nd, whatever, 2016. And obviously 10 years later, it worked, right? To God be the glory. God just did a miracle, man. It was months. I mean, yeah, my wife and I, yeah, we had peanut butter fluff and ramen noodles is all we could afford to eat. 1-bedroom apartment. At first we were sleeping on people's floors. Like, we did what we had to do. But God also just provided. He just did a supernatural miracle. But it took a lot of time of prayer, seeking wise counsel. My story is extreme. And it is the right thing to do if you know that 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 God's calling you to do it. And I did. And I will be honest, it's been hard because I've had other people come to me and they're like, Susie, I'm thinking about quitting my job like you did. And I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. They're like, but you did it. And I'm like, yes. But I knew that I knew that I knew. I took time to think, pray, seek wise counsel, talk to my pastor, talk to my wife, and we all were on the same page that this was the right move for me. Not a recipe to be followed, not a formula to be replicated, but it was the right move for me. And to God be the glory. Obviously, 10 years later, right? Like, it obviously worked. And it's hard because, I'll be honest, it goes in the topic of like, hearing from the Lord. Yeah, most people shouldn't, bro. Most people should not do what I did. 99% of people should not do what I did. They just should not do it. And it's hard because some people are like with Susie. I prayed and I felt like God wanted me to do it. I've had this exact experience maybe more than I can fit on one hand. People come to me, Susie, should I quit my job? And I'm like, probably not, unless you really know that you 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 know that God's calling you to do it. And but you better know, and you better be ready for the repercussions if you're wrong. And they will try it, and it didn't work for them. And they're like, but I felt like God was telling me to do it. And I'm like, I am not you, right? So there's, is your discernment off? Did you really seek wise counsel? I can't tell you that God, well, I mean, I can in some scenarios. I don't know what you're hearing from the Lord, right? But it's not a recipe people should follow unless they know that 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 they know. And I did. And here we are 10 years later. So to God be the glory, worked for us. But that's not the advice I would give most people. The advice that I would give most people is keep working, keep your full-time job, and the time that you know it's time to swap is a few different answers, right? It's time to go full-time when, one, your stream is making more money than your full-time job, right? Now you can switch. You've also and it's been doing that for a while, right? On day one of you making enough money from your stream, don't quit your job, because that can drastically change the next month, right? So much can happen to your stream. The game you were playing can die, and now majority of your content's dead, and now most people leave your stream. I've had that happen to me. Someone can spread lies and rumors about you, and most people believe them and then leave, and you lose a ton of money. That's happened to me. You could get sick and you're not able to stream for the next month, and that kills your stream. Like I haven't had that happen to me, but I have a disease. Like I was late this morning because I have a disease and it messes with me, and I was ready to go, and then all of a sudden my body's like, yeah, you're gonna need to go do some stuff, right? Like it just, so many things can get in the way. Streaming is inconsistent money. Inconsistent money. And you need to adjust to that. So like if your stream is making more money than your job for I would say 6 months to a year, then you may be ready. Or obviously if you can just lower your expenses and chase the dream. Like if you're a single guy and you can have 7 roommates for, you know, $300 each a month, and eat ramen noodles and just give it your all. You don't have any kids, don't have a wife. Maybe that's a different story. So there's two approaches. You either need to increase your income or you need to decrease your expenses. But decreasing expenses is just, it's hard, dude, depending on what stage of life you're in. If you're not already, you know, just a single guy, or a single gal, it's tough, dude. Like you got kids, you can't put them back in. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to just deal with it, bro. You're gonna have to just deal with it. But so that's my story, but it's not one I would recommend people replicate. But I felt God wanted me to do it, so we did it. All right, next question coming in from the 420 murder. What is your opinion on female preachers, and what does the Bible say about it? The church close to us is a female preacher, and now we are slowly changing the rules. That's a great question, man. I'm going to give you a answer on stream, but I'm also going to point you to a message I did several years back where I go in detail, like real deep detail on this topic. Should women preach? God Squad Church. That was what our church used to be called. Unless I already changed name on that video to XP Church. Let's see. No. So let me actually just go to our YouTube channel then. I'm gonna find the exact link. Bum, bum, bum. Videos, search bar. Women. Should women preach? Let's go. All right, I'm gonna give you basically a TLDR type answer that I think will be helpful and beneficial. Put that in the chat right there. Sweet deal. So there are a lot of people that believe that women should not be pastors, that women should not be preach. A lot of women should not preach. A lot of people might even quote Paul when he writes in the New Testament that women should be silent in the church, right? And you read that verse and you're like, well, that seems pretty clear, man. Women shouldn't be allowed to teach or preach. And so let me give you a whole biblical view, right? So when it comes to anything that you believe about the Bible, it should not come from one verse. It should also not even just come from one passage. You have to look at the story of the Bible as a whole. How does what I'm reading here, how does what I'm thinking or think I'm seeing here, how does it fit within the total grand scheme of all of the teachings of God across the entire Bible? They call that biblical context or biblical consistency, because what you might read in one place might lead you to believe one thing, but when you tie it into all of the picture of God's word, it might tell you a different story. So for example, let's talk Old Testament. There were many women that God used in places of authority, like judges, people that were not just like, hey, I'm a secretary that works at a desk and helps the main leader. No, like, I'm the boss. The woman is the boss. She's the leader. She has authority and authority over men, which is one of the discrepancies people have with some stuff in the New Testament. They think that women should not have authority over men, but we see that happening in the Old Testament. Judges, women, leaders, again, not even secondary leaders, head leaders with authority over men. So we see a lot of that in the Old Testament. I will be honest, we do see way more men than we see women. We do see mostly men. And just because we see mostly men does not mean that women are disqualified. So we look at the Old Testament and we're like, okay, well, that's interesting. There's lots of women. We look at Deborah. We look at a bunch of women in the Old Testament. We're like, well, they were leaders. They were not just teaching, but they were men's bosses. They had authority over men in spiritual contexts. Okay, that's interesting. Then we look at the New Testament and we see God continuing to use women again, right? I mean, even down to the fact that the first people that were told about the fact that Jesus was risen from the grave and told to go share that truth, go and now preach to everybody else that Jesus has risen from the dead. The first people that God tasked with that preaching responsibility was women. It's women. I don't know about you, but going and telling others that Jesus Christ is risen from the grave sounds like preaching to me. That sounds like some good, I don't know. There's not many better sermons than Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. That's pretty good. That's pretty good sermon to me, brother. The first people tasked with it. Then we see even spiritual leaders like Priscilla. We read about, it was common in culture back then that when you would be writing to someone, it was common in culture and in the way that their writing styles, that you would write the name of the leader first. So for example, let's just say, real example, right? Magnifigore's my head mod, right? When people would think about my stream today, obviously I'm the leader of my stream. It's literally my stream. Magnificore is a absolute life-changing member of the stream. Is my head mod. Couldn't do it without him, right? But I am the leader, right? I'm the leader of this stream. So when people would be writing about me, this is true today, but very true back then, they probably wouldn't write Magnificore and Susie and like put Magnificore as like the main focus of the conversation, right? Because it's not his stream, it's my stream. That same concept not only is true today, but it was very true back then in writing. It would reference the leader first. And when you read about some of the spiritual communities in those areas, in some of those cases, even in the case of Priscilla, you see Priscilla being named first. Like her, and then it says her husband, which was very uncommon. Very, very, very uncommon to name a woman and then name her husband. Normally it was always husband, then wife. But in certain scenarios, you would name the leader first. So that is something that's heavily debated. When they would reference the woman first, was she the leader? We actually even see an example. There is, I'm forgetting the name real quick. My Patrick AJ is here. AJ, I can Google it too. AJ, who's that young preacher? Really zealous, but he needs to grow. And then Priscilla and her husband sit him down and they coach him. What's that guy's name? It's in the book of Acts. Priscilla corrects. Apollos. Okay. Is that right? I believe his name is Apollos. Yes. Okay. So here's an example that talks a lot about what we're covering right now, right? So even here, just labeled here, right? Multiple examples. Priscilla, Aquila is her husband, and then Apollos. Apollos is this young preacher. He's a new evangelist, super zealous, super passionate, super excited, but he's young, and a lot of young people lack maturity, right? So here, even the scripture right there, even though, let me make one thing clear. This is not like the titles and the heading. This is not like inspired word of God, right? Like when the Bible was written, there were no verses, there were no chapters, there were no headings. Man has added this later to make reading more digestible for us. So I'm not going to be like, oh, look at this right here, because that's a man-made thing. But let's look at the actual scripture, right? So Paul stayed in Corinth at some time, and he left the brothers and sisters of Syria, accompanied by Priscilla and Aquila. This is very, very abnormal use of language at this point in history. Very abnormal for a wife to be labeled before her husband, but it is normal for the leader to be labeled before, secondary leader or co-leader or, someone who's second in rank or whatever. Very common. You would normally never see a wife named before the husband unless in the scenario that I'm talking about. And of course, there are exceptions, which is why this is still debated as if it's true or not. But this is the belief that I'm in. And then what we see here with this man Apollos is that Apollos, again, he's got a good heart, he's got good intentions, but he's young and he's got some things he needs to change and correct. And so they sit down. Priscilla and Aquila sit down with Apollos.
What's up, everybody?
Yo, Z-Sari with the raid. God bless you. We're doing Ask a Pastor or anything. If you guys got questions, let us know in the chat. God bless you. I appreciate you. S-tier human beings. How was the stream, Z-Sari? Looking forward to connecting today. Let's go. And so again, this principle of a woman should not have authority over a man, we see in this conversation that actually Priscilla sits down and corrects Apollos. Like she is speaking with authority over a man. So we see moments and evidence of like, yeah, well, when Paul is writing here that, women should be silent, not have authority of a man, like that seems contradictory to other places in the Bible where we see women who are judges. They have authority over a man. We see this woman here, Priscilla, sitting down with Apollos and teaching him. Like they see him teaching him. Like he was preaching, right? Apollos is teaching. And then Priscilla named first, and Aquila, they invited him to their house. Like, there is a woman teaching a man with authority. Like, how do we reconcile these things too? And then we look at the context of what Paul is writing to the church where he says, women should be silent in the church. When you understand the context of that specific instruction, you have to ask yourself, when it comes to the Bible, this is not even just about this topic we're having, but this is a principle I want to encourage everyone to learn about really all of how to approach the Bible. You have to ask yourself this question: is what I'm reading description or prescription? Here's what I mean by that. Prescription is medicine that everybody should take. You have a cold, take this. You have this sickness, take this. Like everybody should just do this. So for example, prescription of the Bible would be love your neighbor. Just everybody do it, right? Just everybody do that. There's no room for debate. You want to be a follower of Jesus? Love your neighbor. That is prescription. Every single person should do this. But then there are descriptions in the Bible, right? Descriptions, which for example are a description of just what was said at the time, what was done at the time, a account of history. Here's what happened, and you're reading it. And sure, there could be things to learn, from it. But here's a very important principle, that all of the Bible is written for you, but not all of the Bible is written to you, right? So we can glean. God's word is for us to learn, grow, mature, be developed, be discipled. But not everything in the Bible was written. It's not written to you. So when Paul is writing to these churches, he's not writing a message to you. He's writing a letter to the church. Literally, those letters, they're called epistles, right? The word epistle is a fancy word for the word letter. Paul sat down and said, these people, I'm going to write you a letter because you have problems or are in need of encouragement, but I'm writing you a letter. He's writing it to them, to those people at that time, to learn something that we can then glean from today, but the letter's not written to you. So for example, when Paul is writing that these women should be silent in the church, he's not writing a letter to women in the church down the street from your house. He's writing to the women in that church. And there's a lot of conversation around why there was writing that those women should be silent. Some of them, there's a lot of arguments that some of those women were heavily involved in gossip. Like they were creating a lot of problems. They were creating those women in that church were creating a lot of problems, and Paul is like, these women need to be silent. They're creating a lot of problems by spreading rumors, telling lies. You got to shut these women up, dude, because if you don't, they're gonna destroy your whole church. Someone needs to put a lid on these women, but not because they're women and all women but these women, these people could have been men, but in this case, it just happened to be women, right? There's also some arguments that there was some false teaching going around in that day, that some of these women had begun to basically talk about a false god, and that they were trying to teach the church about this false god. And that's why Paul's right. Like, these women should not be permitted to teach. They are teaching false information. The women in your church that I'm writing a letter to you, I didn't send this letter to everyone. I didn't copy and paste it to every church on the planet, and every church in the area be like, don't live. I'm talking to your women. Your women are causing harm. Your women are doing some sketchy stuff. Stop them. And so ultimately, a lot of people might have disagreements on the topic, and we could talk so much. And again, that YouTube video that I showed earlier will give a lot more in-depth detail about this topic. We read a lot of scripture, a lot of stories I use. It'll be a much more in-depth version of what I just said right there. But for a lot of those reasons and more are why I land in the school of thought that I believe women can be pastors. Personally, and again, experience should never be our indication of what the Bible means, right? Experience should never trump what the Bible says, but it can complement what the Bible says, right? So I believe women can be pastors and preachers, first, because of what I read in God's word. Second, because I have experienced so many times in my life women ministering to me at a deep level, women with authority teaching me the Bible. My wife is an incredible woman of God who sometimes speaks wisdom into me and teaches me. And I've just been ministered to. There's some women I admire and respect. And so that's my experience. But again, experience should never trump what the Bible says, but it can complement it and help. It helps. God bless you, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, next question. Let me scroll down. Alexandra, how did we go from Yeshua to Jesus, and why is it okay to call him a made up name? I think I need to honestly brush up on my remembrance of this. But Jesus, at least in I haven't looked into this in a long time, but Jesus, in my understanding, I mean, it's like a modern understanding of the word Yeshua, because the Bible, if you guys don't know, is not written in English. It's not really written in most modern languages. The Bible's written in 3 languages: Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. Not in that order. Mostly Hebrew, Aramaic, and then Greek, which is most of the New Testament. But Yeshua is not a English word. It's not a Spanish word. I'm trying to think of more modern languages. It's not a Russian word. Actually, a lot of these places didn't even exist during the times of the writing of the Bible. And I'd have to honestly go back and look into that. I've looked into it before. Like, for example, how do we go from Yahweh to God? There's so many different understandings of the name of God. Actually, Yahweh, for a lot of people, they wouldn't even say it out loud. They didn't think that we were worthy to even utter the word of God. Yeah, there's so many names. I mean, we think about Yahweh, that we've kind of put some syllables in there that originally was actually just Y, W, and then H. Think about, Adonai, Elohim. So many names for God. So many names for God. And then, then we see Jesus coming down to earth, going by the name Yeshua. Because again, Jesus is not Yeshua is not an English word. But I'd have to look back into that, honestly. Callan, if you have anything to add value, if you're genuinely asking, I think it's just a modern understanding of his name. But I'd have to look back into it. We could actually do a quick Google search right now. Why did his name go from Yeshua to Jesus? But I will say this, what we're about to look up, I wouldn't take this as a super accurate answer. I would definitely encourage you to go in deep. Doug, love you. You're a beast, man. Let's see real quick. Do not take this with a grain of salt. It might not be accurate. Google is not always the best place to get an answer. The name Yeshua evolved into Jesus through a process of translation and adaptation. Okay, so I think I'm correct. Across different languages and time periods. Initially, the name was Yeshua, which is a Hebrew. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm accurate. Hebrew name meaning salvation or the Lord of salvation. As a story of Jesus spread from Hebrew-speaking communities to Greek and Latin speakers, the name was transliterated and adapted. The Greek translation of the Old Testament, known as the Septuagint, rendered Yeshua as, I can't even pronounce that. This Greek form then became Lessus in Latin. Over time, through various stages of linguistic evolution, including the great vowel shift in the Middle English. Like I said earlier, like the name Yahweh, it didn't, like some people would spell Yahweh like this today, right? Yahweh, right? Originally, it was no vowels, just Yahweh. So that also has to do with the name Jesus. The great vowel shift in the Middle English, the Latin Lessus, evolved in the English form of Jesus. All right, that was pretty on point. I was more right than I thought. But yeah, just a lot of people just need to understand, because the Bible wasn't written in English, it absolutely maintains its validity and its historical accuracy. But there are some things that just, because it's not written in English, it is not some things need to be better understood, because the culture is different, the world is different, and literally language is different. And with that understanding, you will approach the Bible in a lot clearer way. Absolutely. Cal, I appreciate the question. God bless you, friend. All right, remember, guys, if you guys want to ask questions, type !ask, hit the space bar, and then I'll answer the questions as many as I can in the next hour and 15 minutes, and I'll answer them in the order in which they came. Casual John, do you have any regrets or things you'd change about streaming? Oh my goodness. How long do you have? Or huge advice tips for someone looking to turn it from a hobby to full-time in the future? Yeah, so that's two separate questions. I will try to answer both. Do I have any regrets or things you'd change about streaming? Absolutely. 8 million. If I go back and start streaming all over again, I would start with a niche, right? I would start with a niche, meaning I would pick a target audience that I'm trying to serve. So for example, right now, a lot of my stream is ending toxicity and loneliness in World of Warcraft, right? So I provide a positive atmosphere for my stream, lots of World of Warcraft tips, community events so that people can be together, a guild so that people can be together, real value that people are getting. And it's not perfect. I have a long way to go. And I would just keep doing that. Identify a niche, keep on serving it. I've talked about that a lot, but I would do that from day one. Also, what I would do is I would really sit down and ask myself, what am I going to specialize in? Am I going to specialize in content?
Welcome to the Penguin Palace.
River with the 5 years. River, cheers to you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Dude, 5 years in the Penguin Palace. Esteban! Get this man a cake! I'll be right there, bro. Appreciate you. River, love you and the fam. Hope you and your mom are doing well. Hearts to you. And thank you for supporting the stream ministry and my family for 5 years. You're absolutely a chat. But here's what I would say. I would really, from the very beginning, ask yourself, am I going to specialize in creating content, or am I going to specialize in creating community? And here's why I think that's important. Creating content requires you to do one thing: create content. Just pump out videos, dude. Pump out videos, pump out live streams. That's all that matters, is just the content. It's just the content. Creating community, real relational community, not a crowd, not a bunch of people that just happen to like think you're funny, but like real community where you know your people, you're connected with your people, you're spending time with your people, you are helping them spend time with each other. You're again, ending loneliness, right? You are engaging in real, authentic, life-giving relationship with people. And in my opinion, you really need to pick one or the other. Or if you're going to do both, you need to understand that one is going to suffer, right? I've never seen it done where people are absolutely crushing it at both. You're either going to be crushing it at one or the other. Here's what I mean. You're going to be pumping out a ton of content. Man, it's putting out like 3 videos a day, 3 long forms a week, so many clips, 6-hour live streams, content
We got a new
machine.
follow.
But outside of watching his videos, outside of watching his live streams, I've never talked to him. Never hung out in Discord. I've never heard from a DM. Like for example, you don't just hang out with Tim the Tatman. You don't just get a DM from Tim the Tatman. You don't just go hang out with Ninja, right? Max from Team Liquid. You don't just, I was hanging out with Max the other night. No, you weren't. No, you were not. They're not creating community. They're creating content. They're very, very clear. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to like help you through a hard time. I'm here to make a video that you're gonna watch. Nothing wrong with that. But they have specialized in one area. Like Yoda, the World of Warcraft Mythic Plus tank. Like, dude, just like watch my tips and tricks. Like, don't DM me on Discord. I'm not gonna answer you. Watch my video. Watch my stream. Ask me a question while I'm streaming. I'll answer it. But they're not interested in creating community, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? They have a job. They're trying to do it. They're trying to do it. But then on the other side of it, are you trying to be a community leader and actually like invest in people? Which means like if you're gonna do that, right, then you gotta be present. You gotta be around. You gotta be in Discord, answering DMs and hanging out with people and being a part and being connected and knowing people's stories and spending time with them, right? Because that's actual community, right? And I'll be honest, it's wildly difficult to juggle the both of them. You'll either make a ton of content, but people will feel like you're never around, or you'll be around all the time, but like, Susie, when's your next video coming out, dude? It is, I'll be honest, it is almost an impossible juggle, a very, very difficult juggle. But if you are going to want to do some sort of mix of both, you just have to accept that something is going to suffer. Something is going to suffer. You are either not going to be able to be as responsive to the DMs as you'd like. You're not going to be able to spend as much time with people as you'd like. Or you are going to put out less videos, stream a little bit less, right? But there's a trade-off. Maybe you're getting more quality time with people, and you're, I mean, really speaking into their lives and like really being around and like being present. Or, but the cost of that is, man, like, I'm not putting out many videos, and that hurts your algorithm, and so you're not getting super many views, which then eventually leads to you not making much money. I'll be honest, community building doesn't make money. Gonna make that flat out, right? Doesn't make money. Like, you don't jump into a Discord call and then hang out with people, and at the end they're like, by the way, Susie, man, it was really nice talking to you, here's $10. Right? Like, that doesn't happen, right? Content makes money. Community building changes lives. So you got to pick one or the other. If you really split focus, creates split results. Okay. And I'll be honest, this is something I've been trying to figure out for 10 years. But really what I've just had to come to terms with is God has called me to impact lives and to be a community builder. God has called me to be a leader. So it may still happen one day. Maybe I will have 5,000 viewers one day. But I'll be honest, I've had to let go of the idea that one day I'll have a ton of views and make a ton of money. Because what I feel God has asked me to do is be with people and invest in people. But there is a lot of financial sacrifice that comes along with that, because, bro, like, you don't get paid to jump in a voice call with people. You don't get paid to like answer some DMs that are really, really impacting people's lives. So it is a struggle. Like, to be honest, I would really love to reach a place where I have enough views on my live stream so that I have enough subs so that I can spend a substantial amount of time with people, impacting their lives, making disciples, loving people. And I would love to hear about someone in the Discord struggling and then DM them. Like, dude, imagine like you're like imagine in Tim the Tapman's Discord, and you just put in general chat, yeah, dude, today's been a crappy day, just lost my job. And then Tim the Tapman DMs you and he's like, hey man, I'd love to hear what's going on. Do you mind if we jump into a one-on-one? That's never gonna happen to you in a million years, okay? Why? Because the amount of money Tim the Tapman would lose by spending his time talking to you would be astronomical, bro. In the 30-minute meeting you had, he could have made like 10 grand. So he's just not gonna do that. Like, the opportunity cost would be astronomical. This is not gonna happen. But that's what I do. That is the life I've chosen. So people think I'm crazy. People are like, Susie, you're never going to be successful if you keep on sacrificing content to like impact people. I just have a different definition of success. I define success just obedience to God. Whatever he's asked me to do. And this season of my life, God's asked me to do, and I'm trying to get better at it because I don't think I'm actually really doing a great job. He's asked me to invest time shepherding, loving, and serving people. But that doesn't really make any money. So I'm in this juggle of like, I need to stream enough to somehow pay my bills, but then be able to love and serve and shepherd people. Because one pays and one doesn't, right? One pays and one doesn't. But without the money, it makes the other very, very difficult. So in a perfect world, here's a perfect world, right? Stream like 15, maybe 20 hours a week. And I have enough viewers and enough subs that it pays for my life. And then I can spend the rest of my time just, I have a lot of responsibilities, and that's its own separate issue. But, just with people, man, just praying with people, talking with people, helping people, laughing with people, spending time with people And I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out, man. Like, it's hard. You know, I jumped into Discord last night just to hang out with some people, and this person meant nothing negative by it. They were actually like so excited to see me. You know, it's really humbling. And they meant nothing negative by it. They were like, wow, like Susie's in here, man. I'm like, and they said, man, I've never seen you in like a Discord channel. And it's not a, you know, I'm once in a while I jump in. I can't jump in every single day. But that just tells me like I'm not with, and they meant nothing by it. They were super excited to see me. It was you know, a great feeling for me. Like, man, people like when I'm around. That's so cool. But I want to be more present. I want to be more present. But I also need to pay my rent. And I also need to be a present husband. And I also man, when I'm around people and I get to speak into their lives and challenge and encourage, and like, it's life changing, but it doesn't make any money. So trying to juggle that. So unless you really feel called to do both, which I don't think most people are, I think it's just not really great, I would pick one or the other. Build a community and don't expect it to be your job. You know, do it on your free time after you get home from work, or make content, and that's it. Just make videos, just live stream, entertain people, and that makes money. And that's what I would, but I wouldn't change it for me, because that's just the task I feel God's asked me to do. And I tell him all the time, like, God, you know how hard this is? Are you sure this works? Are you sure this works, brother? He knows what he's doing. I just haven't yet figured out what God has asked. And Mag, a part of it definitely is events, and events are great, but events, they are a portion. They don't change people's lives, right? Like, discipleship doesn't happen through events. Growth, healing doesn't just happen through events. So it's a part of it. There's a lot to it. But Jesus spent a lot of one-on-one time talking to people, ministering to people, encouraging people. And so it's a deep project, and it's a deep work that doesn't pay. So that's a challenge that I'm trying to navigate. And one day we'll figure it out. The answer is have a bigger stream, but to have a bigger stream, you need to feed it. You need to make more videos. You need to stream consistently. So it's a challenge that there is an answer to. I just be honest, I haven't figured it out yet. But I've just committed the rest of my life to figuring it out. A great question. Open house, man. Ox, next question. My work schedule was changing to going to working some nights so the family life could be better. Talk with the wife about me not wanting to really do nights. Explain to her that she could stop working. Let's go, dude. And I could just full-time day shift and make the same income that we are doing now. And she could be done working and I could have the weekends off. She said, why would I do that when I have a friend where I work? I don't want to leave her. How do I bring it up again? Oh. Dude, that's challenging. Yeah, that's challenging, bro. So let me make sure I read that again. So you would no longer have to work nights. And then she wouldn't have to work at all. Some income. Yeah, bro, there's a lot of layers I think I would want to pull back here that are probably not best had on the stream, to be honest. There's a lot of layers I want to pull back on that question. That probably, so me solo working full time makes both our incomes. Okay. Yeah. I'd want to pull back a lot of layers here. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity. Ultimately, your wife just might not want to stay home, right? Like, some women want to work, and that's okay, right? Like it isn't wrong for a woman to work, and not every woman needs to stay home. Like it just depends. But there's, I think, some other questions that I want to pull back the layer. But ultimately, family needs to be first, right? So if you guys think that it is, I'll be honest, again, there's always exceptions to the rule. But for a wife to work during the day and a husband to work at night, most likely that's going to create a challenging family dynamic, right? That's probably going to make a challenging family dynamic. So, and ideally, both working at the same time is better. But, I mean, if your wife wants to work, you know, that's fine. If you guys will make the money that you need, and then you can put your children in daycare. And again, people might have their mixed feelings on that, but everyone gets to decide what they want to do with their own kids, right? So people's opinion doesn't matter. You parent your children the way that you feel is best, and you feel God's in you to do. But if she, I mean, if like work for her is a form of socialization, then that's not really a bad thing, man. There's some more, you know, some more questions I would want to ask there, but some people might think what you're offering is a dream come true. Some people might feel it's a nightmare. So I think I would just start by asking, just like seek to understand, right? So go to your wife and you can be honest. You know, this is kind of some things I've been thinking, and you had mentioned that you wanted to stay at work for your friend. I mean, understand. Would you fear that by staying home with our kids that you would that you'd be unhappy, that you would lack socialization? Ask questions that will help lead you to understanding of where your wife is at. I think that'll be a great place to start. I can't tell you you'll be in agreement with all the answers she gives you, but if you seek to understand rather than just to get your point proven or get your way, I think it'll be a great place for you to start. Absolutely, man. Ox, I do be working some days and some nights with little to no sleep days for me. So I put it out there so she could stay home since she hates her job, but stays for that one person. I mean, it's a family dynamic, right? So like if you are just miserable, and it would be better for your family dynamic to make the change, then that's a good conversation with happening. And, you know, a friend probably shouldn't be the priority in that, especially because she can keep the friend, just hang out after work, right? But it just depends. There's a lot of questions to be asked, a lot of understanding to be had. But I would be honest about how you're feeling, what you're thinking. And then the two of you just need to put your family first, come up with some sort of compromise that both parties are happy with. That's best for the children. That's good for the both of you. But I think you need some understanding, because I think, like you're saying, she just wants to stay for that one person. It might be so much deeper than that. She might feel like work gives her purpose, and maybe motherhood doesn't feel that way to her. So maybe there's some things to unravel there. There's just so many questions, right? So many questions. But I hope that gives you at least a good starting point. Ask questions, seek understanding. Next question coming in from Wolf the Adventurer. In the Old Testament, in the customs where a man died with no child and the brother was supposed to marry the wife and have a child for his brother, would both the first and second child be considered firstborn? One to the brother, one to the man who was fathered both. I don't know if I have an answer to that, brother, to be honest with you. I do know the cultural thing you're talking about, which is like back in the Old Testament, a lot of cultural, to reiterate what Wolf said. If, for example, a man marries a woman and the husband dies, the younger brother of that man is now expected to marry that woman and continue to have children to carry on the legacy and the last name of that family. That's weird today. That's just what they did back in that culture. And again, that goes back to what I said about prescription or description, right? Prescription is everyone should do this. Description is this is just what they did. So like when you don't understand that principle, then you read the Bible, everything is prescription. And now you're like, in 2025, if I die, my brother should marry my wife. Get that crap out of my face. Because that is not prescription. It is description. It's just what they did back then. But we don't do that today. different world, different culture, different context. But with the question of would both, and they had another baby with the second husband, would both be the firstborn and second child? I honestly don't know the answer to that question, man. It would, I guess, technically be the firstborn of the husband, but I think I know where you're getting at to this. Like in those days, there was like biblical rights and firstborn, you know, like inheritance type stuff and getting the blessings of the father, like we see with Isaac and Jacob. So like, I don't actually know, to be honest. Is there a specific example, Wolf, that you're thinking of in which that happened? I'm trying to think of a biblical example, but even if I can think of one, I still don't think I have an answer to this question. Yeah, I might just encourage you to look it up, man. Yeah, I would love to have a better answer for you, but I don't think that I actually have one. Who is an example? Man marries a woman, husband dies, marries another man, marries the brother. I think of a biblical example. I can't think of any major biblical characters. There's probably something in Judges or something about it. I can't think of one. Wolf, I can't think of an example because in the Bible where I would say that situation was brothers who refused to father the child, spill their seed on the ground, and God, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know, bro, to be honest. I don't actually know. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Trying good to see you. Yeah, I would love to have better answers for you, but as I try to start all Ask Pastor Anything with, I don't have all the answers, but if there's ones that I do have, I'd love to help. Yeah, no, I would look it up, and yeah, we'd have to see. But unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you, brother. I'm trying to think of where it really fully matters, but I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry I can't be more help, man. I love you, man. Appreciate the question, bro. All right, I'm scrolling down, looking for the next question. Again, if you want to ask a question, type !ask, hit the space bar, type in your question. TTV Riley, do you know if at the conference they are doing a creator panel? Do you mean Reach? If so, I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. Romans would be when asked for that. Or if you're talking about a different question, then I'm not sure. Not sure. All right, scrolling down, looking for the next question. Let me see. I actually don't see any more. Do I? I don't see any more questions. I think I'm actually caught up. Anyone can ask a question about anything. Streaming, family, life, relationships. There may have been more questions, but if you didn't put !ask, then I won't have seen it. So let me know. If anyone's got any more questions, I'd love to help. Ooh, was Tamar? Oh, Tamar! Judah refused to marry his youngest son, or because the two older sons died. I need to actually re-look back into that story. I know, guys, forgive me. I haven't memorized every single story of the entire Bible. Darn me, man. Feels bad. Did I see the musical paladins questions? Did he have a follow-up? He asked the one about women in ministry, which we went really deep into that one. I don't see a follow-up question from him. What up, Chusky? Good to see you, friend. Dun, 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 dun. Ox, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would? 7. 7. Answer is 7. He asked for prayer. No, I didn't see. I right now I'm only looking out for the ask questions, so I didn't see it. But I'd be more than happy to pause and pray. So musical palette, if you got a prayer request, put it in chat again. I'd love to see it. Next question coming in from Uzoff. Any good recommendations for really cheap meals when your budget is tight? You have many kids. Yeah, tough part is obviously thinking about health. And I just realized, Trenador, I saw your name. I recorded the clips. I didn't upload them to you. Dang, bro, I'm so sorry. I will do that right now. I should have done that hours ago. That's on me, bro. That's on me, bro. I have like 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, the hard part about call it Hard part about food is that like sometimes you're looking for healthy and cheap, and sometimes you can't get both. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, right? I don't have any children, so like I'm not normally trying to think through that lens. If anyone has any advice to chat, feel free to chime in as well. I mean, obviously there are cheaper meals, like pasta meals are obviously, inexpensive for sure. But dude, just even the price of groceries are tough. But you want to get some protein in there, and the protein sometimes can be expensive. Way cheaper to cook meals than it is to eat out, by the way. Yeah, pasta is going to be a big one. Yeah, rice is going to be a great one. Beans are going to be, and these are all great for you. Rice, chicken, rice, beans is fantastic. And that's true. You're going to have to get creative. Absolutely. Baked potatoes. Baked potatoes are a whole meal. They're so good. They're so good. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend, the TV dinners, the ramen noodles. I mean, at the end of the day, do what you got to do, right? Do what you got to do. But if you can cook, but I can't imagine that's hard. Like, I'm not sure, like if you're a single parent, I'm not sure. Cooking meals every single day, multiple meals a day for children, it just gets expensive. That just gets real expensive. Today's market is wild. It's wild. Yeah, I'd love to get some community feedback. Again, I don't have any kids, so I try not to speak like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to having a family and children, because I just don't, right? But a lot of people in the chat can, I think, give a lot of wisdom. Trent, I just uploaded, I think it's 5 clips to the folder, and you're gonna see one video that'll feel incomplete. It is a video cut into 2 parts, so it might have to be a little bit of a longer video. It's the one where I'm reading the blue post about Season of Discovery and how they're ending it and then making a new one. That, me reading that post, is 2 videos, but I made sure to capture 2 files because it was longer than the 2-minute thing we have set, just to give some context. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cal, stay away from ultra processed food as much as possible. Yeah, it's just really bad for you. It's really, really bad for you, for sure. Crossover, $125 a week for Britt and I to eat all 3 meals. Been nice. Dude, $125 a week for 2 people. That's what, it's $500 a month? It's a lot to feed 2 people, dude. That's a lot to feed 2 people. I definitely think, I mean, if you can do that, obviously. But if people are asking, like, how to eat in a budget, I don't think that's it. But you eating good though, that's for sure, man. Chili can make a lot pretty quick. Can also put fillers in and stuff. Eggs, crackers, burgers can make them from scratch. Mushrooms can stretch them, protein meals, spinach, etc. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of things you can do. But like, cooking is the way to go. If you're trying to save money, it is wild how much you can spend on food. Crossover, half of what you'd spend all 3 meals out to eat though. Yeah, but we're not trying to compare it to going out to eat. We're trying to compare how can I buy and cook food, but just in a cheap way. Eating out is out of this conversation. Eating out and saving money don't belong in the same sentence. Especially if we're talking about DoorDash. DoorDash is the biggest highway robbery to exist on the planet. It is wild. Not only do you pay the processing fee, not only do you pay the money that you just straight up pay to DoorDash, not only do you tip the driver, which you should, but then the, the food you're buying just costs extra money. Not every single store But if I want you to look at it, I want you to look at your favorite DoorDash places. And again, if you can afford DoorDash, go for it. Absolutely. I DoorDash once in a while too. But I'm just saying, like, at least be aware of how much more money it's costing you. Because I want you to look at the favorite place you order from, and I want you to go to the actual website of the restaurant, and I want you to look at the prices. Maybe it's a burger for $12.99, whatever, right? Making up a number here. Can you even get a burger for $12.99 anymore? I don't know. But look at the website price, and then go on DoorDash and add it to your cart. It'll be like $14.99. They just charge you more money for the same meal. And I'm sure they split that or whatever with the restaurant, but it's like you're paying fee on fee on fee on fee on fee. They get you. Wild. And I first discovered that because a few years back, my wife and I wanted to order some Five Guys where we lived in Virginia. And I remember putting in the cart and it was like $70. And I was like, what drugs are you on that I'm about to spend $70 for me and my wife to get Five Guys? So then I compared, and I was like, this is outrageous. This is absolutely outrageous. So then I compared, and I went on the website and I saw, the price. I added the exact same thing to the cart. And before the processing fee, before the delivery fee, before the tip, those two prices were like $25 difference. It was insane. And then I went to another website and compared that. And I was like, bro, I didn't know this whole time I was spending so much more extra money than I thought. Because there was a point in my life where I ordered too much DoorDash. And I was like, dude, I didn't know this whole time. Because that checkout, all they show you is, what you call it, the processing fee, the DoorDash fee, the delivery fee, and then the tip. But what you don't see is that just because you ordered on DoorDash, the cheeseburger costs like $3 more. The fries are $1.50 more. You don't see that unless you actually compare it. So there's your little public service announcement that it's costing you more money to think. But if you got it, go for it. You're like, dude, I got money. I'm comfortable and I don't feel like driving. Hey, go for it. Go for it. But I do think, and I'm guilty of it too myself, in America, probably one of the most common bad habits that many of us, including me, I'm guilty of this too, is not cooking our own food and ordering it out. Whether you're picking it up or not, it's probably one of the worst habits Americans have. It costs us so much. It's so much money. So much money to not cook your food. And I do it too. We're all guilty of it. But it is the trap. It is like one of the biggest financial traps for real. It is so much more money. So much more money. Well, friends, we got 42 more minutes, man. If anyone wants to ask more questions, I know it feels like we've gone off topic. !point ask, hit the space bar, type in your question. It could be a question about life, faith, marriage, relationships, streaming. Maybe you got questions about XP Church. I'd love to help wherever I can. Would love to help wherever I can. Yeah, Mag. Some drivers, like for a while when I did DoorDash full time, some drivers just will not go out too far, man. Will not go out too far. Cross, I can't, man. Some of the questions are so deep and theological, I just can't play a game. I need to do the questions service. And if I really want to actually help people get biblical understanding, I need to give them a good answer, not a distracted answer. That's important to me. I want to actually make sure people are getting full value, not half value. But we'll check that out another time. Now, if I was playing WoW and doing like a dungeon or something, very different. But not when I'm sweating it out in Marvel Rivals. Lyrica, some drivers will eat your food and then label it as not given. Yo, there's some sketchy stuff, I'll be honest. There's some sketchy stuff that happens in food delivery service. For real, man. It gets real sketch. People eat your food, steal it, and then they'll just mark it as like the problem was on your end. Make back that happened in your miso soup one time, bro. It's a mystery. Yo, what up, T-Spy? God bless, friend. Welcome on TikTok. Good to see you. How's everything going? Got a bento box and miso soup was absent, bro. Well, I mean, sometimes that's just the restaurant didn't put it in the bag, because that happens too. That happens a lot. T-Splash, so glad to see you. Appreciate that, man. What are you up to today? We're doing Ask a Pastor Anything. So if you want to ask any questions, all you got to do is type !ask, hit the space bar, type in your question. Love to help over I can, man. Casual, when my wife goes with me to deliver, I have to keep her from drinking the drinks at times, almost forgetting it's flowers. Yo, that's actually hilarious, dude. Yeah, that's why they what you call it? That's why they'll oftentimes put a little sticker. You know the hole we put the straw in? They'll put a little sticker on it so that the customer knows if this hole has been broken, then like don't drink it. It's already been used. Yeah, you gotta put that tape on it. Gotta put that tape on it. Absolutely. Crossover. Speaking of food, do you and Manders like ramen? Oh, my wife loves ramen. Say less, bro. Say absolute less, bro. Might go to Friday for lunch with the crew. Bro, we're down, dude. Excuse me? Wise Otter with the 6 gifted? Let's go. What an absolute legend. My goodness gracious. Wise Otter. That puts you tied for 2nd place of highest gifted subs of the month of May. You are currently tied for 2nd spot. One more sub, you'll be body count out. You guys are tied, but he did it first, so he gets 2nd place. You are an absolute legend. I appreciate the support. You're an S-tier human being. My goodness gracious. What an absolute chat. Seriously, the generosity means the world from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful human. I appreciate you. Come on now. You guys are insane. Love it. McBeck, I put a clip in your React channel that involves gaming and Jesus. Interesting. Let's go check it out, dude. He did do the extra point ask. So I am obliged to obey, dude. Let me go to my React channel. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, what is this, bro? Hold the phone. Now, does this have... Oh, I really hope this is not going to be what I think it's going to be, bro. I really hope this is not going to be another pastor talking about how video games are stupid and a waste of time. I'm already mad, but I could be wrong. So let me not judge without actually knowing anything. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Hello, volume. Oh, there we go. Oh, I got it. I know why. It's on my end. I'm the problem. Hello? There we go. Oh, DMCA. Hello, volume. Why do you keep doing this to me? Bro, I've never struggled to just turn volume on so much in my entire life.
Love playing video games though?
Yeah, here we go.
Because I love going where I'm celebrated, not where I'm tolerated. And when I do good on the game, I get an unlocked screen, I get achievements, I get leveled up, I'm the man in the game. So I'm gonna go here. At my job, I go to my job, I'm not good enough. Every time my wife asks me to do something, it's not good enough. I check on my friends, it's not good enough. So I'm gonna go to the one place that every single, I'm celebrated here. And I know men aren't perfect. I know I should find my value at the cross, but sometimes my flesh wants some validation. And be careful, men, be careful that your pursuit of validation from anything other than the cross of Jesus, you'll never have enough of it.
That's right.
And it will destroy everything you've built in your life.
Dude, I have been sharing this principle when I travel and speak. When I travel and talk about video games in churches that are, that don't understand gaming, like for example, let me show you Pastor Susie, Valley Forge. I have been sharing a principle super similar, a little bit different, not the validation part, but the part of why so many people play video games is because in real life, like he was saying, like they maybe feel like they're not doing it well at home. They maybe feel like they're not accomplishing their goals in their marriage, and they feel like they're failing. But in the video game, they get to feel like a winner. And in real life, like when you fail, there are massive implications. But in a video game, when you fail, you just respawn and try again, dude. Like Mario welcomes, doesn't matter how many times you failed, Mario's like, man, let's try again. Let's just try again. I think I should talk about that in this video real quick. Let me see.
FromWithinMusic.com, and you can download their EP for free. And the reason I give my wife a shameless plug,
this is a different part. This is encouraging too.
Is because I really believe that my job as a man, our job as men, I hope you're hearing me, as spiritual leaders of our home, is not to allow God to make our dreams come true while we leave our wives to the wayside. I believe it is our goal, our responsibility as men, that as God elevates us and as God allows our dreams to be made true, it is our job to do our very best, to do everything in our power to make the dreams of our wives come true as well. I think we need to get out.
I will say, it's not everyone's story. It's not everyone's path. Everyone's lives are different. But to have created an entire life and career for your wife where she gets to do what she loves every day and get paid for it is a very, very rewarding feeling.
Out of this mindset that men are meant to elevate to the top while we allow our wives to sink to the bottom. I don't think that's true at all. I think women, I hope you're hearing me today, that you have amazing potential to change the world. That you are God's princess, that you are his royalty, and that you are Christ's handiwork, God's workmanship created in Christ Jesus to do amazing things that you never thought possible. And I hope you're not here today, and I hope if women, if you're here today and you have this mindset where you're second class and you've got to marry some big boyfriend who thinks he's a king, who's going to lord over you, let me tell you something. If you marry someone who thinks they're a king, they will treat you like a servant. But if you will marry a servant, they will treat you like a queen. And I hope that every single woman in this place will acknowledge the...
Again, for the people in the back, though.
Thinks they're a king, they will treat you like a servant. But if you will marry a servant, they will treat you like a queen. And I hope that every single woman in this...
What you know about that hairline, though? What you know about that hairline, Alexander?
place will acknowledge the value that you have and that Jesus has an amazing plan for your life.
All right, let's find this actual part
that I believe we can change the world as a whole. And I think it's our job.
This is what I do when I go to churches. I wear a suit jacket, and then normally some sort of gamer shirt under it. You know what I mean?
As men that Jesus loved. Here to talk to you about
let's
marriage.
find this moment.
I'm here to talk to you about video games. Come on now, we got gamers in the house.
Hey now.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. See, and one of the reasons I'm so surprised to be here is because about a year and a half ago, growing up, I never in a million years thought that I would be in front of a large group of people
62
talking about video games. See, because I grew up to be what I believe to call a closet gamer. I grew up all my life playing video games, but I always kept it to myself.
I think it's coming up.
There's a lot of you, maybe if you're not a gamer or if you have parents or family members who don't...
Bro, I got dress shoes. Y'all see them dress shoes, dude?
Maybe if you're not a gamer or if you have parents or family members...
Oh, dress shoes, Keck W.
Who don't understand the gaming culture, you know that their first connotation of gaming is very negative. Usually when you throw on the word, oh, I'm a hardcore gamer, people don't automatically assume, oh, you must be super successful and super intelligent. No. The first thing that people think is, oh, you must be pretty immature, pretty irresponsible, and you're probably never...
Is it 450? Mag found it. It's at 450.
Nobody. But then they turn on the face with this negativity. They get called, and these grown men go to work and they get made more money and they come home too. We've got a lot of grown men who go to work. The fact is that right now, while they don't know Jesus, that's what they do. It's rather than video games. Although it's our hope that gamers will put their hope and their trust in Christ rather than video games, the matter of the fact is that right now, while they don't know Jesus, that's what they do. We've got a lot of grown men who go to work every day and they're not making men's meat, and they come home to hear their wives talking about, well, if you were just more of a man, if you just made more money, maybe our family would be a little bit better. And these grown men go to work and they get made fun of because they play video games with people in high school. They get called nerds and losers and immature. And all through their life, they're faced with this negativity. And they're just this big nobody. But then they turn on the Nintendo or the Xbox and the PS4, and Mario opens up his arms wide to them.
Facts, bro.
You see, because Mario, although it may seem silly, this is true stuff. Mario is indiscriminate of race, color, gender, financial status. See, because Mario opens up his wides to anyone who's willing to
Opens up his wides. That's not even a sentence. Interesting.
come. And the thing about life, it's super frustrating and disappointing when you fail. But in Mario and in video games, when you fail, you can simply just try again. And me, my whole life, I used to run through these video games.
Yeah, I was in that video. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've said this. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said this at some point in my life. And I was like, hey, I think it's a clip. But it's true, man. And I don't think a lot of people understand the psychological, like, mindset behind why we do most things we do. Most of the things that you do have a much deeper psychological implication than we realize. There's normally a reason, and sometimes it's way deeper than you might think as to why you're doing something. So like what that guy is trying to communicate in that video is people are actually playing a video game, but not even because they like the video game. Well, they like how the video game makes them feel because of the validation they get from it. Like, there's so many things. That's why the human brain is so complex, dude. So complex. Like, just the depths of who you are. That's why, like, therapy and counseling are so wildly helpful. Combat, good to see you, brother. Because it helps you understand the why behind so much of who you are. Like, it helps you understand the why. Oh, yeah, Ike lady. Psychology is fascinating. Some of you guys don't understand, didn't know that I almost actually went to college for psychology. I wanted to be an architect, but it was the one thing I was like, but I also am fascinated by psychology. I chose architecture. But then after I graduated college, I had thought about pursuing a master's in psychology. I had thought about it. I was like, if I were to ever get a master's, I wouldn't even get a master's in biblical theology. I would get a master's in psychology. I'm not going to say it was super serious and like making moves to get it, but it was something I had considered. Like maybe, I'll take a break after college, figure out where we're going to move. But then I might really consider this. And then I started streaming and my whole life changed. And, I'll probably never get a master's now. But, and again, never say never, but probably never. And but now, yeah, I just the amount of study that I do online on my free time to understanding humans is astronomical. It is probably one of my number one fascinations in life, is understanding why do people act the way they do? Why? And if you can understand why you act some of the ways you act, which we all do, I got my flaws, we all do it. And if you can understand why other people act the way they act, it will revolutionize and change your life and your relationships. And if you will approach everything that somebody does around you, if you can approach that to, instead of looking at it for face value, that, hey, they did this, or they said this, or they didn't do this, or they didn't say this, it can almost always be rooted down to something deeper and a very big why. So for example, right? So let me tell you a consistent struggle in my marriage, right? So I am a words of affirmation person to a T. The number one way in which I feel loved is things being said to me, like compliments, encouragement. But the deeper the relationship I have with you, the more valuable those words are to me. right? So obviously the deepest relationship I have in my life is with my wife. So when she says things about me, oh bro, like it fuels my soul deeper than you ever know. However, my wife was raised in a home where you didn't do that. Nobody really complimented each other. Nobody really encouraged each other. You didn't say nice things. It was implied that I love you. It was implied that I'm proud of you. It was implied. The only things that you said to each other were negative, right? Never said the good things, just only ever, Amanda, you should have done the dishes better, or Amanda should, like, very unhealthy form of communication, right? So now as an adult, my wife she just doesn't think to say nice things, like, to her husband. Like, she just, you know what I mean? Like, we're all trained by our childhood, and it's hard to untrain, right? Like, when you marry someone, let's say you get married at 25, don't expect them to just overnight unlearn a quarter of a century of behavior. It's unrealistic expectation. Wildly unrealistic. So for my wife, it's a struggle of hers. She thinks these things. She loves me. She thinks very highly of me. But because of the way she was raised, it just doesn't always come out. But without understanding that, like early in our marriage, I'm like, yo, I don't think my wife really likes me all that much, man. I don't think my wife really thinks very highly of me. Like, she never tells me. She thought very highly of me. She just doesn't say it all that often. Let's talk about me and our end, right? My wife very much grew up in a house where, like, everyone had a lot of responsibility, doing the dishes, helping around the house. So, like, if you walk by it and it's dirty, you're expected to have cleaned it. Don't walk by it. Don't walk by the dishes if they got to be cleaned. Don't walk by the book that's on, out of place. It should be put away. Don't walk by it. Like, you see it, do it. I grew up in a Portuguese home where my mom did everything. That was her love language. Oh, let me serve you. Let me make your plate for you. Let me clean, like, everything. Not because she's a woman, but that's one, her love language, and two, that's Portuguese culture, right? So I grew up, I will walk by the dishes because my mom will do them, right? I will walk by the bookshelf, the table where something is, like, out of place, and I won't put it away because my mom trained me that way. Don't bother, I will do it. It's not good. I don't think you should actually train your children that way, but that's how that's my mom. Don't worry about it. I love you, I'll do it. So even after being married 11 years, I still fight that. I've gotten a lot better, but it's not that, like, oh, I'll walk by it and Amanda will do it. I never think that. But sometimes I just tunnel vision. Like, by the way Amanda was raised, she's looking at everything. What needs to be cleaned? What needs to be done? I see it all. But the way my mom raised me, I just beeline it for where I gotta, like, if I'm going to the fridge, I don't see anything except the fridge. Because my parents, for 20 plus years of my life, don't look at anything. Don't see it. So I never think, like, oh, I see the mess, I'll just leave it for Amanda. I never think that. Sometimes I just don't even see it. Because I was trained to just beeline. I'm going to the kitchen to get a snack. That is all I see, the cupboard. I'm going to the fridge. All I see is the fridge. No peripheral vision. So I've gotten way, way, way better. But if you don't understand why, then my wife thinks you just leave everything for me to do. You don't care that I'm tired. You don't care that I also have a job. You don't care. No, it's just not that at all. My mom trained me to just not see it. My mom trained me, don't worry about any of that. I will do it. So now, as a 33-year-old man, sometimes I walk through the house, tunnel vision. I only see what I see. So the end result ends up being the same, right? Where the dishes weren't done and you had some free time. Like, I would have really appreciated if you had done them. And so ultimately the end result's still the same, but there's a big difference between, hey, you know, babe, I'm really sorry just because of the way that I was raised. I don't always look around the way that I should. And sometimes I just don't see it. But I'll definitely get to it. And I'm sorry that was wrong of me. But there's a difference between that and, yeah, I saw the dishes and I just didn't care and was like, you know, Amanda, when she's done working for the day, when she gets out of that really stressful meeting, she'll do them, right? So the motives are very different. So this whole conversation is understanding that there's normally a deeper reason as to why people behave the way they behave. And when you understand that, it'll help your relationships, right? So there are times now where I still tunnel vision and I don't see something that I should have seen and I should have done because I'm a grown man. I can also clean, right? But now Amanda knows, okay, in the more rare moments where he does this, because I don't do it all the time. I still do it sometimes, but way less than I used to. Now, when I do it, she knows, okay, he's just doing that thing again because of how his mom raised him for 20 plus years. He's not walking by and going, I don't give a crap that Amanda is tired. I want her to do this anyway. Because you see how drastically different those two things are? And so it helps her understand me, and it helps us, like, it solves a lot of tension. Because if you don't understand why, sometimes you just think your spouse is like just the worst human ever. And that they just don't give two craps about you. But oftentimes, it's just not that at all. Right? Depends on, I mean, I can't say it's never that because I don't know your spouse. They might hate you. I don't know. I hope not. But oftentimes there's a deeper reason as to why people behave the way they behave. And that's why sometimes, like, if you have compassion oftentimes stems from understanding. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes if you understand that someone may be acting the way they're acting because they've actually got some deeper hurt and that it actually has nothing to do with you, it can actually give you compassion. There's a phrase that maybe you've heard. It's not something I made up, but it's just a great phrase people use, that hurt people. People who have been hurt, oftentimes that are just flawed human nature, they will hurt other people. So for example, you went to the register at the grocery store and that lady was really rude. And you think it's all about you. Well, I can't believe she would say that to me, and I was just trying to be nice. And absolutely, but you don't understand that her wife left her this morning. She woke up to a note that said, I'm done. I'll be at my mom's. That changes everything. Now, granted, some people are just mean because they want to be mean. But the principle is that normally, on most occasions, there is a deeper level, a deep psychological level as to why people behave the way they behave. And the more we seek to understand each other, that's why conversations are so important. That's why when someone upsets you or a joke was made or an expectation wasn't met, seek understanding. Talk to them. Ask why. Just man, talk to each other. When you do that, it will drastically change your relationships with people. It makes a big deal. But most people don't want to talk to each other. Most people just get frustrated, want to cut things off. I'll tell you, if you could push through the pain and actually go to people, like there are times where I'll go to someone, I'll be like, hey man, you know, I really appreciate our relationship and our friendship, or, you know, but I feel I know you well enough to know that you probably didn't mean it this way, but there was a thing that was said or did or whatever, and I'll be honest, this is how I took it. May not have been how you meant it. This is how I took it. Can you walk me through, like, the intent behind this? Like, did you actually mean this the way I took it? Or was it something different we could talk through? And so many times it'll just be, It'll just be totally different than you thought. Now, sometimes that person is like, yeah, dude, you know what? I was passively aggressively mad at you, so I said this. But I'll tell you, it goes a long way. You can have those type of conversations. It will go a long way. Let's go. Next question coming in from Combat Possum. I've been meaning to ask, but I keep forgetting. I understand that God Squad is like XP Church 1.0. Absolutely, yep. But what is Waymaker? Great question. I have seen that title used a lot. So yeah, let me walk you through. And I can understand why right now this is confusing, because it's something that has used to be really prevalent, but hasn't been talked about too much publicly. So we're in like an in-between phase. And that's why I feel, yeah, there's River with the emotes. Let's go. Yeah, we had a meeting with all of our church members several months back. It was this year. And we talked about this, but it hasn't really been discussed too much publicly. So if you guys go to our XP Church website and you were to go to give, right now you will see this Waymaker thing. And you're like, what the heck does that even mean? Let me give context as to why we're in like an in-between right now. And then I'll get to your question. So right now we're in between because I came back to being the lead pastor. It's been more than a year now. It was April 2024. Okay, so a little over a year, like a year and 2 months. And the church began to go through some changes. We had some changes to our team, some changes to our systems, and are still very much in the process of bringing change to bring some health and some growth and some change to our church. And before all that, one of the things that we did every single year, we did something called Waymaker Week. And so real practically, what Waymaker Week was it was a week-long fundraiser for the church, right? So almost all churches are what's called a non-profit organization. Some might even be what's called a 501c3. It's a tax status. Basically, it's like a charity status where people can give and get a tax write-off. But non-profit organization, what I mean by that is, like, it's not a business that sells a product, right? It's a church that you donate. It's an organization you donate to. And 100% of all of their operations rely on the generous donations of people. Literally, their existence is if people feel like giving their money or not. That's why most people don't work in nonprofits. Because, yes, I'll be honest, it is a horrifying way to operate. But that is what a church is. So we would do Waymaker Week to help raise the funds of the church. So we would set a goal. We would have, here's what that goal is going towards. Here's how much it is. And they would have a week long of like 12 to 14 hour streams every day, goals, milestones, incentives, rewards. And basically the purpose of this week long fundraiser was honestly, it's more geared towards people who actually don't go to our church, right? Our hope is for people that consider our church home. They love God. They want to worship him through what the Bible teaches, financial generosity, that they're regularly giving to the church just because that is what followers of Jesus should do. People should financially support their church. However, we also have thousands of people who wouldn't call our church home, but they believe in what we do. And so Waymaker Week is an opportunity for them to give, get behind the vision. There's some fun incentives like us eating gross cupcakes and getting pied in the face and a lot of entertainment. And again, it's not really for the people who call our church home, because hopefully they're giving regularly without any, like, I shouldn't have to convince Christians. I shouldn't have to do something ridiculous like get pie in the face for a Christian to give money to their own church, right? But if you're not a part of our church and you're already giving to your local church, but you got an extra $50 and watching me eat a gross cupcake would make you laugh and we can use it to reach people for Jesus, I'll do that every day of the week. I'll do that every day of the week. And so that's what Waymaker Week was for. But the language of Waymaker, it actually comes from a scripture in Isaiah where basically the scripture is saying that God, actually I'll pull it up. I think it's Isaiah. God is making a way in the wilderness. So Isaiah 40. Oh, it is 43. I didn't think it was actually. Isaiah 43:19. Let me pull up the verse. Check it out. So the scripture says, let me just pull it so you can see it. Hello? Where is it? There it is. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? But here's where we're here. I'm making a way in the wilderness, in streams in the wasteland. Some translations say I'm making a path in the wilderness, and that I'm making streams in the wasteland. And so what this verse is describing is that in a place where something seems impossible, God can make something possible. So for example, in a wilderness, it's just trees, grass, rocks, branches. So easy to get lost because everything just looks the same. You could walk for an hour and be like, have I been here before? Maybe not this exact spot, but everything looks exactly the same. There's just trees, grass, and sticks everywhere. So people get lost. It's like, man, there's no way I'm ever going to make it out of here. So God's like, but in the wilderness where people get lost, I will make a path to give you direction. It also says, man, and I'll make a stream in the wasteland. For example, other versions might describe something similar to like a desert. In a desert where there's no water, there's no river. It's impossible for me to get my thirst quenched in this place. God's like, I can make a river. I can make a way for something to be possible where it seems like it's not possible. So that is where we get the terminology waymaker from. But the waymaker is just this principle that God doesn't just want to make a way. He wants to make a way through you. God is inviting us and gives us the privilege to be a part of the miracle working process that God wants to do through his church and in the world. So it's not just me. Like sometimes it's not just me praying God reach more people. Sometimes like God, you get involved in the reaching of more people. But in this terminology, it's about the financial giving. So people can help make a way where it seems like there is no way. Somebody might say, man, there's no way that gamers will come to know Jesus. There's no way that we can reach the gaming community. People can help make that possible. They can make a way by financially contributing to the church. That's a lot of that language. That's what Waymaker Week is. Now, you might be wondering, man, I've been here for like a year. I haven't seen one of these things. Absolutely. We used to do one every single year. Then a few years when I was gone, I think they moved it to Waymaker Weekend. I think they did a weekend, but same principle, just goal, but just in a shorter period of time. And then when I came back, it was one of the things that I was really thinking of and being like, hey, you know, should we bring Waymaker Week back? And I do plan to bring Waymaker Week back. However, although it might sound counterproductive, in my first year back of the church, I really felt God saying like, do not do Waymaker Week this year. Not like never bring it back, but don't do it again this year. That was something I really felt strongly from the Lord. God wanted to do a lot of refining in some things in our church. And I think we needed to not have a Waymaker Week that to happen for a lot of different reasons. Many of them I probably won't go into here, but one of the other things is I really think if we're not careful, again, kind of like the conversation of it's normally a deeper reason as to why people behave that way, right? So to back up even further, when I was no longer with the church financially was actually, and to God be the glory, continued to do well. Like sometimes when a lead pastor of a church is no longer there, sometimes everything falls apart. They lose all their money. That's not really good, but sometimes that happens, right? And so in the first year of me not being with the church, that actually didn't happen. And I was like, praise God, this is awesome, man. Church continued to do well. Finances were doing well. They did their next Waymaker Week a year later and hit their goal. And this is awesome, man. Praise God. This is like going super well. Then the next year, unfortunately, things started to decline. Things, which I will get to see, man. A lot of things started to decline and change, and the finances of the church drastically declined. This has all been public information and knowledge, to the point where the church was very, very close to just having to shut down. Very difficult time. And so to God be the glory. They made some changes, decided to bring me back as lead pastor, which I'm very humbled by. And we're still in the journey of reworking, regrowing, restructuring. Lots of changes have happened. I'll be honest, lots of changes still to happen. Just sometimes you make too much change all at once. It's just too much and it's harmful. Sometimes change can be really good, but if you do change in the wrong way, sometimes it's really bad. And when it came to Waymaker Week, like I said, sometimes it's easy to look at the surface level, and when church finances are on the decline, sometimes the easy, and if I'm being honest, the lazy thing to do is to assume, oh, well, people just don't want to give their money anymore. People are cheap, and people, right? And it's like, whoa, let's calm down a little bit. People don't love God. They don't want to, Is there a deeper rooted issue? Is there a deeper rooted issue as to why people are leaving the church, and even the people who are staying? Because we can check, right? When people give money, it's not anonymous. We can see your name and your info. These people used to give. Why have they just stopped? There's always a deeper rooted question. It's always a deeper rooted question. And so that was the journey that I wanted to go on. I was like, before we start making assumptions, they're like, why is this happening? Why is all these things happening? And if I'm being honest, a big reason that I presume that was happening was two reasons. One, that I don't think we were meeting spiritual needs of people. People oftentimes will give to something that they feel is feeding them. Wasn't actually meeting the spiritual needs of people. And that two, people didn't believe in the direction that we were going. People didn't believe in, this is from feedback, my observation. I don't think people believed that back at that time it was still God Squad Church. People didn't believe that God Squad Church could actually go where the church had hoped it would go. And I really felt and observed it was a trust issue. Trust issue. Not like I don't trust them if they're gonna spend the money poorly and go buy a yacht. Not that kind of trust, but a trust in there's people say they want to go somewhere. I don't think they can actually get there. I don't think we can actually get there. And I think we have to rebuild that level of trust. That people look at our church and they're like, man, I really believe in XP Church. And that's a process, right? That is a process that happens slowly over time. And I really felt if we don't deal with the root issue of meeting spiritual needs, sharing vision and direction that people believe in and want to get behind, really disciple people to understand why Christians should financially support their church. If we don't deal with these deeper rooted issues first, and all we do is come out and ask people for tons of money, I think it's going to make things worse. I think it's going to make things worse because people know why they're not giving. And if we never address that why and just keep ignoring that and then just keep, hey, you should just give more, it's just going to make all this worse, man. Like, it's just going to make all this worse. And so we had to make the conscious decision. We're just not going to do it. We will prove God's people first that we are, one, making disciples to understand why we should give, two, rebuilding trust, and three, creating vision and direction in an actual church that's feeding people. The people are like, man, this is worth investing in. This is actually producing fruit. Lives are actually being changed. People are actually being saved. Disciples are actually being made. I want to feed. I want to support into a ministry that's producing fruit. Fruit. And when we can actually accomplish that, people, man, they're excited. They're excited to be a part. They're excited, want to give towards it. And but I think that takes time to accomplish. And I don't think we have resolved all that yet. That takes time. That takes a lot longer time than I would like it to. It just does. And so if we don't acknowledge the why behind things, we miss out on a lot of opportunity. But man, I know that was a lot of info, that most of it wasn't even in the question, but it's just, I think it's just helpful information for people to talk about. What I like about these Ask a Pastor Anything is, especially for people who are a part of my church. We have many people here right now that like XP Church is their home. You know, you don't normally just get to sit down and ask the pastor about like deep, meaningful things about the church. You know, normally in churches, you just hear the pastor preach a sermon, and then if you're going through a hard time, set up a one-on-one, he talks and prays for you. But like, I think it's important for people to hear like about like the things of the church, and my hope is that it'll build trust. Yeah, Macbeth, transparency and vulnerability make it feel more real. Absolutely. So I think we have a long way to go, if I'm being honest. I think on our end, we have a lot more work to do. We have a lot more trust to rebuild. We have a lot more things to still work on, improve, and change. We've made a lot of progress, but I still think there's a long way to go. But I don't want to communicate that we're trying to get back to where we were. We're not. We're trying to get to a healthier place we've ever been. And I will take responsibility that for some of the things that maybe have not been so great in our church are not just the things that happened in my absence, but are things that happened while I was there. Systems that I created, that because, again, we created the world's first church for gamers, right? Done something no one's ever done before. We're doing something we can't read a book and get the advice. We can get some, because some of church information is applicable, but we're doing something that's never been done, right? Doing something that's never been done. And so I take full responsibility for some of the issues that had been in our church are because of me and our lack of knowledge, or, like you don't know something until you've already done it, right? You don't know something until you've already done it. And so sometimes you're like, hey man, if I could go back, I would do it differently. Absolutely. Hey, X-Man, God bless you. You have a great day. Appreciate you stopping by. I'll buy again anytime, friend. And like a lot of it, like I take responsibility for me. So please don't hear this through like, hey, Susie was here, the church was amazing, then he was gone and the church started dying, and then he came back and I was doing well again. That's not true at all. Because first of all, let me take extreme responsibility. Some of the things that happened while I was gone were systems that I created and taught them how to do. Some of the things that were happening were things that I either didn't train my staff to do, or things I did train them to do, but just weren't maybe as great as I would have I would have thought, right? You don't know if an idea is good until after you've already tried it. So there's so much, man. Like we're doing something innovative that's never been done. And so it sometimes it's a challenge. And that's why I'm really thankful and I'm really humbled for people who want to be a part, especially when you're following, I'll just be transparent. Like when you're following a young leader. When I first started this church, man, I was 23. Oh, that's like, now that I'm, getting into my upper 30s, now I'm like, bro, that's borderline to child. You know what I mean? It's like borderline a child. And so for people to instill that level of trust into someone that young, it's humbling. humbling. And you know, maybe there's some people who do that intentionally, knowing like, hey, this guy's young, he's probably gonna make a lot of mistakes. That's what young people do. Now, I'm still young, I still make mistakes, but I'm also not 23 anymore, right? But yeah, I mean, when you're just that young, you just you don't know what you're doing, right? you don't know what you're doing. And so you're trialing by fire. You're learning through failure. And some people are cool to sign up for that. Okay, I'm going to follow a young leader, but there are pros and cons to that. Young people happen to have a lot of ambition, and energy, and excitement, but where they have plenty of ambition, they often lack an experience. That's why I think people in their 30s and 40s, you might be slowing down, losing your hair, but hopefully you've gotten smarter, right? And then your 40s, just more of that. Leadership is a challenge for a young man or woman, because you lack the most important thing. You just lack experience. But God doesn't use people when they're ready. He qualifies and uses people because he's ready, and he takes you along for the journey. And so, yeah, I take full responsibility for even in the time where I've been here, even in the year and 2 months that I've been back, right? We're just trying to figure it out. And that's why I'm so thankful for people's just grace and patience, and understand, like, man, it's really not even about believing someone you're following has all the answers right now. It's really about believing, in my opinion, two things. Do you believe that we truly are doing our best? And do you believe that we can eventually figure it out? Because if you don't believe one of those two, then yeah, you're likely probably not going to be a part. Right? Like, if people look at me today and they're like, Susie, I really don't think you're giving this your best effort. If that's genuine that you believe, I wouldn't blame people for not believing in what we're trying to do. Or if you look at me and you're like, I don't think you can ever figure this out. If I genuinely believed that about somebody, I wouldn't support them either. They're like, hey man, I believe that you believe you can figure this out, but I don't actually believe that you can do it. I'm not going to support them either. And that's why I'm so thankful and humbled, because for people who are a part and do support, that means they believe. And I'm humbled by that, man. Like, so I'll be honest, guys, there's a part of me that, I mean, we're almost a decade in, right? I've been streaming for more than a decade, but almost a decade of our church. And if you were to ask me, where would our church be after 10 years? I would have given you a very different answer than where we actually are. And I'll be honest, a big fear of mine is like, man, I really believe that God has called me, and I really believe that God can use me to be what I need to be for this church. But it's definitely a deep-rooted fear in my mind. Like, at what point do people stop believing you can figure it out? Because they're like, hey, dude, it's been 10 years, bro. Like, I don't really know if you can do this, dude. And I put myself in their shoes. And I'm like, would I think the same? Maybe. And so that's why I'm so humbled for people that still support and support and want to be a part, because I just can't express to you how much I've just given my life to it. I might not have all the answers. I might not have figured everything out yet. I'm doing my best to trust God and to hear from God and do that the right way. And I don't always do it right. But one thing I can assure you, I'm giving it all I got. I'm giving it all I've got, bro. My wife and I have sacrificed so much more than people will ever know or understand. I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world by any means. I don't think that I am I just don't think I'm the most of anything, but the one thing I will take credit for is I will give my life to figuring it out. I love God's people. I want to reach gamers for Jesus. And I give my life to it. Give my life to it. And that's what I hope people know. Like, dude, if there's someone else who really can do it better and has the answer, I'll step aside, bro. I'll just be part of the church. Like, if there's someone else actually more qualified to lead it, bro, I'll support you. And if that dude comes along and is willing to work for like $3, bro, lead me. I'm in. What role can I fill? What do you need me to do? I'm on board. Like, I love the church. I love our people. I love our people. And if there's someone better, I'd follow them to the moon, bro. I'd follow them to the moon. I really would, man. Like, I really would, man. Jay Will, love you, brother. Ike, and you have the vision too. That's a huge piece. Well, I appreciate that. I think people need vision. They need vision. But yeah, I mean, I just want people to know I love them. But they will know through my actions. And I just want to do a better job. I'm gonna do a better job. I just don't want to get it wrong, you know? I just don't want to get it wrong. But I also don't think I'm getting it super right either. There's a lot I want to do, a lot I want to change. And just trying to figure it out, man. Figure it out. But I appreciate y'all being here, man. It means the world. But I will give my life to serve you. Hands down. Hands down. Jack and Ike, I think that's important in more churches than you think. A lot of churches would benefit from pastor congregation Q&A. Yeah, I think people just getting to know the pastor, I think, is important, you know? That's what I hope people know, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, favorite, it absolutely. For us to, yeah, we're being obedient to say yes to the Lord. Absolutely. We're trying to figure out what God already knows. But I know what you mean. Yeah. Absolutely. Just trying to get it right and trying to learn and grow and become the person that God wants me to be, man. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. But dude, I'm gonna keep on fighting, bro. Keep on giving my life to serve, help people, love people. Best way I know how. Best way I know how. All right, friends. I think there may be. Let me see. Castor John, last question. I think that's the last one, right? What are the plans for the church when you're no longer on the earth? Do you intend to pass it on to someone else? I would intend to pass on the church way before I am like dead. First of all, I'm not passing on the church. It's not mine to pass on. It's not mine to pass on. The moment the Lord calls someone else to be the leader of this church, they're in. They're in. Whether God calls me in a different direction, dude, I mean it. I really mean it. If the Lord called someone else to be the lead pastor of this church, I would just work for them. Or be a full-time content creator and then just volunteer a few hours a week to serve that person. Whatever. Right now, God has asked me to do both. And I will be blunt and honest to say, I don't think it is the perfect scenario, but it is what God has asked me to do. I don't think it's ideal. I think if you have split focus, you get split results. I believe that with all my heart, but it's what the Lord has asked me to do. So that's what I do. And it's probably 3 times a week. I'm like, Lord, are you sure? You know, does this work? And he's like, just keep doing what I've asked you to do. You got it, boss. You got it. I'm happy to do whatever the Lord wants me to do. If the Lord wanted me to be a full-time content creator and not be a pastor, I'm in. Lord, if the Lord wanted me to stop streaming and just be the pastor of XP Church, I mean, financially, that's not possible this time. But if that's what he wanted, like, he'd make a way. He'd make a way. Or if he was like, hey, Susie, man, you were supposed to start the church and get the church here, and then now it's time for the next guy, I'd be like, sure, who's the boss? Tell me what to do. What do you want me to preach? You want me to lead an XP group? You want me to mop the floor? Like, I'm in. Whatever you need me to do. I honestly have zero, what's the word I'm looking for here? I just do not care if I am like a high rank or title or not. Just, Lord, what do you want me to do? And if you want me to lead pastor, happy to do that. You want me to step aside and preach once a month while someone else leads? I'm happy to do that. I love our church. I don't want to leave. The only thing that I could say I would be upset to do is like not be a part of the church anymore. Like, ultimately whatever the Lord wants to do, but I'm like, Lord, just don't call me away. Just move me around if you need to. I'll stay here or move me around, but please don't ask me to leave. And you know, that happens. People get called from one church to another, but I'm like, if I could have it my way, I would like to be part of XP Church for the rest of my life. If I could, and when I say a part, I don't even care what that looks like. I don't care if I'm lead pastor. I don't care if I'm just a content creator who streams and tells people, like, encourages people to go to XP Church, and I'm just a massive form of marketing. Like, I just want to be a part of it. Lord, just let me be a part. And what it looks like. So I wouldn't even say when would I pass it on, whatever the Lord wants, but it's not mine to pass on. And this doesn't work that, like, if I choose to step away, I just pick who the next person is. We have what's called the board of directors, and we have it's like a 16-page, very legal document of bylaws, and I won't bore you with all the details. But the board of directors gets to pick the new lead pastor with communication of our church membership, right? So, for example, let me give you a real example of when they were thinking about bringing me back as lead pastor. The board of directors, they do get the final vote, but they had a meeting with the members, and they were like, hey, we're thinking about bringing Pastor Susie back as lead pastor. Let's get some feedback. Let's get some thought, because if everyone is going to hate him being the pastor, it's probably not the right call. And they talked that through. They got, we don't do like voting, but we do open communication and feedback. What are people's thoughts? How do people feel? And I'm not going to say it was unanimous, but it was almost unanimous that people wanted me to come back. So the board was like, hey, we've heard from the people. We've heard from the people. And for X, Y, and Z reasons, we think this is the best decision. So then they brought me back. But if I were to choose to leave one day, it wouldn't be like, hey, yeah, you know what? I'm just picking Magnifigore to be the new lead pastor of XP Church. I don't get to do that. We have authority structures in place to prevent people from having too much power, because sometimes people go all kinds of crazy, man, with too much power. Yeah, man, everyone's like, I'm in, man. GPT is now the church leader. So yeah, I don't get to just pass it on. I don't get to just pick who I want. So if one day I ever did leave, we have systems and structures in place for that to be done in at least what we believe to be done in a healthy way. So I can't just, like I said, do whatever the heck I want to do. And I think that's healthy. And I was very intentional to create those, because obviously I created them, right? But and I'm glad I did. I think it's healthy, man. Like I'm just not in it for power. I'm not in it for money. Definitely not in it for the money. I just want to serve God's people to the best way that I know how, and I want to know. I'm obsessed with learning how to better do that, because I understand there is a gap between what I currently know and what is required to know to serve people at the level which God wants me to serve them. there's a gap. That's just being a human, right? All of us, whatever all of us do, the kind of parent you want to be, there's a gap between, you know, who you are and what that is required. But remember, there's also another gap, not just the gap between who you are and who you want to be. There's another gap between who you are and who you once were. And sometimes, you know, we can use these phrases, and it's like, oh, you know, don't spend any time looking in the rear view mirror, right? But sometimes it's actually good to look in the rear view mirror. Remember where you came from. Remember how far God's brought you. So do I feel like, and I have so much more to learn and so much more, and I want to grow? Absolutely. But I also look back and I'm like, but I'm also not even remotely close to the same human being I was 10 years ago. There is a massive, massive gap between who I was and who I am now. But there's just also another massive gap between who I am now and who I want to be. But that's just growth. That's just life for all of us, right? And we're all on a journey. You and I, all on a journey. There's a growth gap that we all have. And I'm just really thankful for those that have grace, patience, and belief. Even though we all have a gap. We all have a gap. I think where it gets unfair and ungodly is where people forget about the fact that we all have a gap. All have a gap. And it's not fair to each other, right? We're all human. We got limitations. Can only do so much. But friends, I appreciate y'all. I know we moved Ask Pastor Anything a little bit earlier today. I appreciate y'all being here for it. Those in the XP Church channel, I love you. You guys are absolutely S-tier human beings. Let me tell you real quick, friends, don't forget. A few things are going to happen right now, okay? Wait, you put in a question? I do have to go, though. What's the question? Let me try to get it real quick. I didn't see it. I don't see it. Did you do... Oh, okay, you didn't do the exclamation point ask. That's why I didn't see it. Is the church still based in VA? No, it is not. We are... Oh, and it's my shirt one. It's not in Virginia. As of right now, we are exclusively online. We would like to go back to one day having a broadcast studio. So not necessarily like your normal idea of a physical church that like people come in and sit in all the seats, but I want to have a studio where us and our staff and our team can offer a very high level production, be able to do all the things we need to do for, you know, be able to do podcasts or weekend experiences. But then also, it's been my lifelong dream. I want to have a LAN center. But us having a physical spot is very different than most people's idea of like a physical church. It will not be like a normal church building you walk into and everyone sits in and watch it. It'll be a studio where we do our live streams. Like it would be more that than it would be a normal idea of what people think about church today. But it would be broadcasted all over the LAN center. So TVs on the walls, people sitting at the PCs, put on the headset, like they can listen and watch church with us. It would be more like that. And my shirt says nope. This is a Magic the Gathering shirt. And blue is like a counterspell denial type thing. So a lot of blue players, you're like, I'm about to cast this. And blue goes, nope, I have a counter. That's the shirt. I love it. Let's go. All right, friends, let me tell you all a few things before I head out for the day. One, if you have been following along in our XP Church Bible reading plan, we just finished the book of Revelations. Today is actually the last day. Tomorrow we're starting a new one. I'm gonna post it literally probably in like 5 minutes in Discord. We're starting the beginning of the Old Testament. Okay, so we've been on. I've started with us. What I'm estimating is probably gonna take probably around almost 2 years. I want to take our church through reading through the whole Bible. So more than that. Probably 8 months ago, we started in the New Testament, and we started with Matthew, went all the way through. We just finished Revelation today. Tomorrow, we're starting the beginning of the Old Testament in the book of Genesis. So if you're here and you're like, hey man, I'm actually interested in like reading the Bible and I don't really know like where to start or how to do that, there is a link in the chat right there. that will lead you to the Discord page where I will post. It hasn't been posted yet. I'm going to post it here in like 10 minutes, and then we're going to do all the things. So starting the book of Genesis, that'll be happening. Nothing to tell you. Tomorrow, we are continuing in, I think it's week 6, week 5, one of those. Dangerous Doctrine. And tomorrow, I'm talking about the prosperity gospel. Does Jesus want you to be rich? Does following Jesus mean that you should be rich? There is a teaching that goes around the world. It's called the prosperity gospel. It talks about, man, if you're going to be following Jesus, all you're ever going to do is be rich and happy and drive a Lamborghini. And tomorrow we're going to open up the Bible and be like, what does the Bible actually say about this? Does the Bible actually promise that if you follow Jesus, you will just be rich, have no problems? It's going to be a great conversation. And I'll give you a spoiler. No, you will not. But it's important for us to understand why. There are verses in the Bible that talk about Christians prospering. So if God says we should prosper, what does that actually mean? How about it tomorrow? Pastor T, I love you, brother. You're a legend. Cass, thanks for being a part. Join us tomorrow, either at 1:30 or 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. XP Church for Gamers. There's a link in the chat. There's all the things. I love your faces. And friends, I will see you on the flip side. Peace.